TV Channel 10. Glad to have you tuned in. Hope everybody is doing good and enjoying the beautiful, cooler weather. Want to let you know that the Gardener's Corner program is brought to you today by the Lloyd Granville Agricultural Heritage Association. That's a mouthful right there.
It is, yeah.
Their annual harvest show is coming up the first weekend in October. We'll tell you all about that, as well as T.G. Brooks Company, one of our fine supporting sponsors, South Boston Memorials, and Owl Pride Foods. We appreciate all of our sponsors, and we appreciate you all tuning in. Our special guest today is Miss Kim Woods. Today is the first time that Kim has been on the program with us, and she is the livestock and forage agent for the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service for both Person and Granville counties. Good morning, Kim.
Good morning, Rob. Thanks for having me here.
Glad to have you here. We've tried to work it out in your hectic schedule a number of times, but we finally got it worked out today, and we're glad to have you here. You know, the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service, those people have a wealth of knowledge, and they don't mind sharing it with the residents. And, you know, if you're ever in need of their services, they're one phone call away, and they'll do whatever they can to help you, and they will not do anything at all to harm you. So don't be afraid to call and ask the question, and we're very fortunate to have the extension service that we have here in North Carolina.
And if we don't know the answer right off, we'll tell you that. We're not going to come up with you know, something off the cuff, and then we'll find the answer for you and get back with you. So.
Well, it means a lot because whenever people come to you all with a problem, it makes y'all feel good when you are able to help them
Absolutely.
find a solution.
Absolutely.
So we're going to be talking about more or less how to kind of prepare for maybe any bad weather. I know they are saying that with Hurricane Irma that we're not really going to get a lot of the effects here in Person in Granville County. We should get some rain from it, but hopefully it won't be very bad in this area, in which hopefully won't be bad anywhere. But, you know, Kim, with it being hurricane season, and, you know, wintertime will be here before you know it.
It will.
And, you know, here in this part of North Carolina, a lot of times we have inclement weather.
We do.
And whether you are a livestock owner of 1,000 head of cattle, or whether you are the owner of 4 or 5 head of cattle, you need to have some plans in line in case, you know, we lose electricity, or, you know, if we have, you know, wind damage. It's a lot of things that kind of come into play, and it's certainly you want to be prepared for the worst case scenario, if at all possible. And many times, Kim, coming up with one plan, you know, may not exactly work. So you need to be able to have flexibility in
Absolutely.
things. So
Absolutely.
anyway, but before we kind of jump into the topic at hand, just want to let you know that National Preparedness Month is actually September, and coming up on Tuesday, September 19th, at the Person County Office Building Auditorium, it's going to be a safety preparedness meeting, and they invite you to come join VIP to learn ways to prepare for unexpected disasters. The guest speaker is going to be Doug Young, Emergency Services Director, and this is a more or less a free gathering there at the Person County Office Building Auditorium. It'll be on Tuesday, September 19th at 5:30. All that they ask is if you RSVP by calling 336-599-1195, and they ask that you RSVP by Monday, September 18th, to kind of give them an idea of if you're planning to attend, so they'll know how many tables and chairs and everything to set up. but it would be something good to have a preparedness plan. Again, if you are a livestock owner or if you just have your family.
That's right.
Kim, if you would, when we have hurricanes come in and we lose electricity and things, what is some really important things that livestock owners need to try to be on top of to make sure that they have an alternate plan to address this situation?
Well, and I think planning for these potential situations is the key. If you've got livestock, getting them and their area ready to handle whatever conditions may come is not something that you're going to be able to do in 5 minutes. So you've got to start ahead of the game and get things done before the storm is really bearing down on us. As Rob mentioned, it looks like the storm is going to head farther west of us, which I hate it for the folks of Tennessee, but I am very thankful for us that it looks like at this point we're going to dodge the bullet and we're not going to get the brunt of the storm, although the upper currents can change and Irma can change her mind and decide that central North Carolina is where she wants to come after all. So I think making some preparations this weekend would be a good thing for people that have livestock just in case she changes directions. But if not, these things can be carried on, as Rob said, into the wintertime when we can have snow and ice storms and we potentially lose power for that. There's another hurricane, I think Jose, out there in the ocean. They're still not sure where he's going, and we can lose power with summer thunderstorms as well. So but when we're talking about hurricanes and the potential to lose power for long periods of time, making sure that you have feed and water stores for your animals is critically important. We never know how long we're going to be out of power, how bad it's going to be. So if you can, at least 3 days worth of feed and hay and water is probably the minimal that you need to plan for. And if you can store up a week's worth, that would be even better, because I know with Fran, we were out of power for a week. And if we have something severe like that come through again, it could certainly be that long. So making sure you have those stores squared away, and water is critical. We, along with animals can do without food for several days, but not without water. So use any clean container that you can find around your house and around your farm to put water in. There's some information out there about using chlorine to help making sure that water is safe enough for the animals to drink. I've got some links on our website. I'll share that email website address in a little bit that's got that information in there. But water and feed is probably the most important thing to make sure you have squared away. If you have animals that have special medications that they need, or even special diets, you want to make sure you've got a week's worth of supply of that. Because if you're out of power, the local farm and garden, the feed store, the veterinarian's office, they may be out of power as well, and you may not be able to get that special medication that you need. Another thing to think about is, where are your animals going to be during this storm? Again, it looks like she's going to turn west, but if it's coming this way, most experts agree that out in a pasture and not in the barn is the best place. Of course, most time large animals like cattle, goats, and sheep are out in the pasture. A lot of people stall their horses at night and whatnot. But the concern, if you keep them in the stall thinking that it's going to protect them from the wind and protect them from flying debris, which can be a big hazard, but what if that barn collapses? Then those horses are, stuck in there and have no way to get out. Or what if a power line gets ripped off and it catches on fire? Then again, those horses are stuck in the barn. So again, having them out in an open pasture seems to be what most people agree is the best place. You need to think about some potential hazards when they're in that pasture as well, though. You don't want overhead power lines running through that pasture. Hopefully you've got some maybe on the back side that don't have power lines going through there, because if the poles come down from the wind and the power lines are laying in that pasture, then that's another hazard for the animals to deal with. A lot of people use electric fence, high tensile fence, Some people use barbed wire, and those work great in normal situations. However, in this type of situation, if trees fall down on those posts and that wire gets off of those posts, that becomes another hazard for those animals. So ideally, a woven wire fence pasture is the best place to put them. I realize not everybody has that, cause it's just less apt to cause damage to the animals if they, try to break through the fence, or they're, get scared in one section of the pasture and run to another. So, those are some things that you need to think about to begin with if you're gonna stay on your farm with your animals. Certainly, folks with horses, evacuation is a possibility. There are, and again, these links can be found on our extension website. Yesterday when I looked, the Hunt Horse Complex in Raleigh was not going to be an emergency shelter during this storm, because they had a couple of horse shows already going on.
Wow.
And they were full to capacity with horses already in stalls there. Yesterday, the Martin Horse Complex down in Williamston had not decided whether or not they would be an emergency shelter. I haven't looked, I didn't get a chance to look this morning. I would guess they're probably not, with the new track of the storm. Again, that could change. But, you need to think about, if you're gonna evacuate, where are you gonna take your horses to? And if you are gonna take them, make sure they're up to date on their vaccinations, so that they are not exposed to any potential diseases when they go to someplace else. And again, they're not bringing anything into that barn that you're taking your horses to. You've got to have a up-to-date Coggins test on the horse, and normally health certificates are required as horses are moving through the state. I do know, since the governor declared a state of emergency, that particular requirement has been waived. So you don't have to have a health certificate, but you do need to still have up-to-date vaccinations and Coggins before you evacuate.
Well, Kim, I think you bring up some really important points. First of all, you brought up one that I had never thought of, and it's had me to thinking, when you talk about having pastures that maybe has an overhead power line running through it. Now, I've never once fathomed the thought of that power line breaking.
Right.
And that does put
Sure.
your livestock in danger, and never thought of it.
That's right.
And so it's a lot of little things, and I think we all sometimes kind of feel like, well, we know how to handle this situation, and we know how to handle that situation, but we always do not think of
No,
every
you can't.
scenario. What if this happens? What if that happens? But and something else, we had made mention on the show a few weeks ago about the mare mule down in Johnson County that had tested positive for EIA.
Right.
It's what we call Coggins, and it was something in the Ag Review that just came out a couple of days ago about, it was a horse that it had is it Triple E, Kim? Are you
Right.
familiar with that?
Right, Eastern equine is
That's
encephalitis.
right. And so
Encephalitis.
it's really important to vaccinate your animals. And a lot of people say, well, I don't vaccinate
Mhm.
my animals because they never leave the farm. And you never know
That's right.
when you may have to move them off of your farm. And if you have horses, and if you have a herd of goats and sheep and things like that, it's good to be able to have some way to load them and transport them to
Absolutely.
safer ground.
Mhm.
Now, if you've got 100 head of cows, most likely you're not going to be able to. But typically, farmers that have a lot of cattle, they have several different
Right.
pastures to where they can
And maybe
put
move
them
them
at.
to a higher place with maybe
That's right.
not
and
the
so
power lines, or
that's
maybe no
right,
creek
yes.
going through it or something like that, so the cows have a better chance of surviving in that high ground.
Well, it's some really good ideas, but just you should always be mindful of that. And one home trick is to fill up your bathtub full of water, and You know, a lot of people are, why do you fill up the bathtub with water? The biggest reason is you can use that water for a number of things. One would be to flush the toilets
Absolutely.
if you lose electricity. And I just left the dentist office, and I understand that here in the county that the grocery stores are having a pretty healthy run on bottled water and,
Oh, I'm
and
sure.
things like that. And I think a lot of times we all are guilty of making knee-jerk, nervous reactions and things like that. And, you know, while you just kind of do your best to prepare for the worst but hope for the best, and in doing so, you know, you don't need to run out and buy, you know, 10 or 15 gallons of water. You know, you just need to have fresh drinking water. And then if you do have some containers at home that you can put water in to use for other uses, and even if the water is there, you know, if you have a way to boil it before using it, it's fine. But again, getting back to the livestock situation, we talked about it here on the show before about the importance of having fresh drinking water for all livestock. And Kim, you're exactly right. You know, livestock can go several days without food like a human can, but you got to have water.
Got to have water.
And also something else that we will make mention, that if you ever experience the loss of electricity, if you have a generator, make sure if this generator that you're using, whether it's a PTO power generator from a tractor or if it has a gasoline engine on it, make sure that that's in a well ventilated area.
Absolutely.
And so it's a lot of little things that you can do to where more or less the storm won't be a cakewalk, but you'll be able to kind
Get through it okay.
of survive
Right.
and get through it.
Right.
Well, Kim, just a question as far as when it comes to livestock and things like that, I can't help but think about, you know, all the flooding in Texas, and then with the hurricane coming in Florida, I'm sure to be, you know, flooding there. But, you know, you think about people having to evacuate, you know, these different places to head for higher ground and safety. But, you know, it's a lot of people, due to obligations around the farm or ranch, they can't leave. And it's really tough on those people and the livestock that is around. But I really like the idea of having a plan in mind to where if it is potential flooding, to where you can move your livestock to maybe a pasture that maybe would not be so susceptible to flooding, and have it to where they cannot get into any closed-in structures, you know, for the reason of the structure maybe receiving damage and collapsing on them. And also, like you'd said, and I hadn't thought about it before, if you got animals stored in a barn and if it has electricity, and you know, if a power line comes down, it could spark a fire. So a lot of thoughts
Yep.
that you're sharing with us that I had never fathomed the thought of, but it's really good that you're here to help, you know, enlighten people on things that could happen.
Well,
But-
hopefully it's given some people some things to think about. And I have to admit, like you, Rob, I had never thought about the power line thing until I read it yesterday. Another important component when preparing for storms, and thank goodness with hurricanes, we usually do have some time to prepare. We have some time to think about what pasture do we need to put the animals in, or making sure we have that feed. With winter storms and summer storms, a lot of times they come unexpectedly and we don't have that preparation. But along with the feed and the water, identification of your animals is important as well. And I know that for horses, that's probably a little bit easier to do some of these things than with cattle or goats and sheep. Usually cattle, goats, and sheep have a visible ear tag in them, so that is something that can be used to identify them. But, you know, say you leave your horses at the farm you've gotta go for whatever reason, and, you know, maybe the fence gets torn down because limbs fall down from the trees or whatnot. But if you've got some, identification on the horses, then that can help make sure those horses get brought back to you after everything is clear. And so some things that you can think about doing is take a luggage tag, write your name and phone number on that luggage tag, and then braid it into the mane of the horse. You can also take a pair of clippers and clip your phone number into the hair on the side of the, like of the neck of the horse. Then that way it's a permanent, you know, until the hair grows out, which ain't gonna be for
That's
several
right.
days. Somewhat permanent means of a phone number to get back in touch with you. And you can also use, animal marking paint, which is, you know, it's gonna wear off in a few months, but it's somewhat permanent as well to again, put your number on that animal. Should something happen and the animal get out of the pasture because you're gone or whatnot, you just never know what's gonna happen. So if there's permanent means or somewhat permanent means of identification on, again, most likely horses, then that kind of helps get you guys reunited after the storm is over with.
And you know, a lot of horse owners do not keep halters on their horses all the time. But, you know, when you've got the potential for, you know, severe weather coming in, it would be a good idea to have a halter on them, just simply because it would save you a few minutes of, you know, catching the horse if you was to have to move it or, you know, change location of the pasture that the horse is in. So it's a lot of little things out there that if you kind of think ahead and maybe have a little plan. And I hadn't said this saying in a long time, but I'm sure you've heard, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound
Absolutely.
of cure. So
Absolutely.
just kind of have a plan in mind. We're going to get a word on for one of our fine supporting sponsors. We're going to get some information on about Owl Pride Foods, makers of Owl Pride Premium Pimento Cheese Spread and Dip. And before we take that break, I just want to let you know that it's going to be pesticide application training for Category V. That's going to be on Tuesday, September 12th. And it's going to be from 6:30 to 8:30. And if you're in need of credit hours, you may want to contact the Person County Cooperative Extension Service office at 336-599-1195, or just show up that night at 6:30. And we'll be back in just a minute after we hear a word from Owl Pride Foods.
Goodness grows in North Carolina. Our Pride Premium Pimento Cheese Spread and Dip is made in Roxborough. You can pick up some to enjoy at T.G. Brooks Company, Twins Market, Hurdle Mills Market and Butcher Shop, North Main IGA, Food Lion, Just Saved, Supply Line Discounts in South Boston, Virginia, Kenyon's Meat Market in Mebane, and Bacon's Meat Market in Hillsborough. Or you can enjoy it at Cole's Pharmacy, Trish's Espresso, and the Clarksville Station. Whether you're having Owl Pride Premium Pimento Cheese Spread and Dip for a snack or a meal, it's delicious. Owl Pride Premium Pimento Cheese Spread and Dip is made by Owl Pride Foods in Roxborough. Pick up some and enjoy it today. For extra flavor, try the jalapeno added. That's Owl Pride Premium Pimento Cheese Spread and Dip.
All righty, here we are back on the Gardener's Corner program. My name is Rob Hall. We welcome you into the broadcast. We just heard a word from Owl Pride Foods, makers of Owl Pride Premium Pimento Cheese Spread and Dip. We'll get a word on coming up in just a few minutes for the Lloyd Granville Agricultural Heritage Association's annual harvest show coming up in Butner the first weekend in October. We'll also hear from South Boston Memorials and T.G. Brooks Company. Kim, you was telling me that coming up on the 14th, I believe, will be this upcoming Thursday of next week. It's going to be a pasture and livestock management field day.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit of information about that, please.
Okay, so you're absolutely right. It is next Thursday, which is September 14th. It's going to be out in Rougemont at Kaywood Farms. And we've got all this information again on our website, and we can share you with that here in a little bit. But it's going to be a field day dealing with pasture issues and also some livestock management. So some of the main things that we're going to talk about is renovating pastures. So I know in North Carolina last year, the eastern part of the state dealt with Hurricane Matthew and all the flooding that happened from that. The western part of the state was in the exact opposite spectrum, and they had all the drought and wildfires up there. So there's been a big push in trying to renovate a lot of the pastures that were damaged from each of those extremes. But a lot of times pastures need renovation just, you know, after age. You're just trying to improve them. So pasture renovation and soil test readings, understanding your soil test reports when you get those back, is one thing that we're going to talk about. Native warm season grasses is another interesting topic that we're going to cover, and those type grasses include like switchgrass, gamma grass, big blue stem, and Indian grass. And those were grasses that I know used to grow in the midwestern part of the state. They may have at one time been native here as well, but they grow well in the summertime when a lot of times fescue and orchard grass kind of gets a little bit dormant because it's so hot and dry usually. So we're going to talk about possibly incorporating that into your rotational grazing and using that as pasture species. We're also going to touch on animal health and animal handling. So again, it's next Thursday, which is the 14th. It's going to start early. We're going to have registration and breakfast from 7:30 until 8 that morning. So you can come out for some breakfast. And the program itself will start at 8 o'clock and we'll be done by about noon that day. So we've got a good agenda lined up, some good speakers to come out. So hopefully you can put that on your calendar. Just ask that you RSVP so that we can make sure we have enough food there. And again, all this is on our website, so I'll probably just refer you to that instead of trying to read off the email address that I've got here. Or you can call the Person County Extension Office and just RSVP. And again, that number is 336-599-1195. So that's going to be a good field day next Thursday, Rob.
Kim, you mentioned the website a couple of times. What is the actual website address to where people can log on for more information?
Wrote it down yesterday, and I'm going to put my glasses on to make sure I get it right. So if you just go to like Google and type in person.ces.ncsu.edu, that should come up. Or you could Google Person County Cooperative Extension, but person.ces.ncsu.edu. So if you go to that website, there's several different sections, but there is some information about this field day that I just mentioned that's coming up next week. I also did put an article up yesterday about preparing for Irma, which again now sounds like we may not have as much impact, but still the information is good. So that article is there along with a lot of the links for information that I pulled together to discuss this morning. Some more detailed information, checklists that you may want to think about going through yourself to make sure you have to be prepared for, whether it's a hurricane or a winter storm or a summer storm. I mean, some of this information is good no matter what the situation can be, because when you're out of power on
That's
a farm,
right.
on a farm, that's tough.
Well, you know, Kim, I had a thought of some years past. A friend of mine is a cattle farmer down in Granville County, and used to be from time to time I'd go out with him when he was feeding cows and stuff like that, and it's always nice to see the calves and the cows and everything. And he was one that, you know, would practice, I guess, would you call it forced foraging, where would rotate, you know, the cows from pasture to pasture.
Right.
And anyway, but all the fence that he had was high tensile electric. And I said, I got a question for you. I said, with all of this electric wire and fencing that you have, well, what do you do if it's a storm and you know you have trees down on the fence line and you have no electricity. He said, well, he said, one of the best ways to keep your livestock inside of a fence, he said, is to make sure that they've got plenty of food and water. He says if you make sure that they have got food and water, he said they have no need to roam anywhere. And that means a lot. So, again, as Kim had said earlier, if at all possible, make sure that you've got at least a 3-day water supply for your livestock and at least a 3-day feed supply for livestock in case we should lose electricity. And you're right, you know, when the Hurricane Floyd came through, there was a lot of people without power,
Oh, yeah.
you know, a couple of weeks or so. And anyway, but just a few things that you could kind of prepare for that would probably save you a little bit of worrying and things should these events happen to arrive. But again, if you'd be interested in getting more information on the Pasture and Livestock Management Field Day, which will be next Thursday, September 14th. Again, it will start at 7:30 and last until noon. You can call 336-599-1195 to RSVP. And one more time with the website address, please, Kim.
person.ces.ncsu.edu.
And whether you're someone that owns a couple of head of sheep or goats or cattle, or maybe you've got 50 head, it would be, you know, pretty nice for you to attend this management day, because I guarantee you would learn something that you did not know. And another nice thing about attending events like this, you get to meet people and make friends and kind of, in a sense, form a network, so to speak, to where if you ever address with a problem or need a hand with something, you know, if you can become friends with people that have the same interest that you have, whenever you're in need, those folks are the ones that can help you out a little bit quicker than anyone else.
I guarantee you'll get a lot of information from the meeting, the field day that day, but a lot of times, as Rob alluded to, the meeting after the meeting, you can get just as much information. When you're talking to people who, you know, have dealt with such and such, maybe they went through a certain experience that you're going through now, and they have some great advice to how to deal with that certain situation. So making a connection with other farmers, having that network that you can go to, you know, is invaluable, because a lot of times they have some good information that they're willing to share with you as well.
And you know, another thing, Kim, a lot of the livestock producers raise their own hay. A lot of them buy it, and whenever you are purchasing your hay for your livestock, now it's really nice to have one hay grower that you can depend on to get all that you need from, but it's also nice to have an alternate plan. And when you get out and talk to people, you can find about who's got what and what may be available. So the meeting could be a very valuable meeting if you go and you meet a few friends and come up with some new ideas and get new information. It's a win-win situation. And the best of all, it's no charge to attend.
And you get breakfast.
That's right. You can't beat that. We're going to get a word on for South Boston Memorials. They've been advertising with us here on the Gardeners Corner program a long time. I want to make mention that it's going to be a pesticide collection day at Heiko Warehouse. This is going to be on Tuesday, September 26th, from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. Now, this is not a collection day for old paints, motor oil. It is for pesticides. So maybe you've got some, I'll never say the name right, but glyphosate, what a lot of people call Roundup. Maybe you've got a container of that sitting out in your outbuilding that you never plan to use. If it's in a marked container, You can take it to Heiko Warehouse on Tuesday, September 26th between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. And they will have personnel there that will receive it from you and dispose of it properly. All right, let's get that word on for South Boston Memorials.
South Boston Memorials, located 1439 Seymour Drive in South Boston, Virginia, has been in business since 1958. The Myers family of South Boston Memorials believe that every life has a story. For 4 generations, their life work has been to present and preserve that story for our prosperity to hear. Allow South Boston Memorials to tell yours. South Boston Memorials has granite memorials, markers, and mausoleums, over 300 in stock. In-house laser etching is available at South Boston Memorials, and they can also make pet markers. For memorial benches, vases, and monuments, call on South Boston Memorials at 434-572-3859 or visit their website, sobomemorials.com. That's 434-572-3859. South Boston Memorials is located 1439 Seymour Drive in South Boston, Virginia. Like us on Facebook or visit the website, sobomemorials.com.
All right, here we are back on the Garden Corner program. We just heard from South Boston Memorials. A little while ago, we heard from Our Pride Foods. Coming up in just a few minutes, we'll get a word on for T.G. Brooks Company and also the Lloyd Granville Agricultural Heritage Association. They're having their harvest show coming up the first weekend in October. Our special guest today is Miss Kim Woods of the Person in Granville County Cooperative Extension Service, where she is the livestock and forage agent. And Kim, you know, I guess maybe I should have asked this question before we even started talking about preparing for severe weather. But if you would, we'd like to find out a little bit of information about Kim Woods, about how long you've been working with the Extension Service, and a little bit about your background now. As long as I can remember, you've been employed at the Extension Service. I know I've been talking to you over the years about different things, but how long have you been a part of the Extension Service?
So, I've been Person County Cooperative Extension Agent since October of 2003. So I'm coming up on my 14th year anniversary. So I've been there for several years with some changes in staffing and personnel. I started Granville County July 1st of last year. So that was a little bit of a switch, having to cover 2 counties, but it's been interesting. I've got to meet some nice folks over in Granville County and work with them, so I've enjoyed that as well.
Well, good. Well, now, Kim, you come from a farming family, and you make your home up in Orange County, correct?
The good end, the northern end of Orange County. Let me be clear.
And not only does Kim talk the talk, but she walks the walk. She is a livestock owner. Her and her family, they've been doing just that for a long, long time. Now, what drawed you to Extension in the beginning?
Well, just to expand on my background a little bit, I grew up on a dairy farm in Orange County, so I have been around cattle all my life. So I mean, that I grew up feeding calves, and then as I got bigger, I was feeding heifers once I could pick up those bags and hay bales. So I've been around cattle all my life. We have a couple of horses / pasture ornaments. So we do still have a couple of horses around there. We've had chickens, and we currently have a small beef herd there as well. So I'm back in the cattle business, although not quite as labor intensive, since they don't have to be milked every day. So I've always been involved in agriculture, and just have grown up with a love for agriculture, and growing up in it, I showed cows for years and years, did dairy judging, dairy bowl, and all that kind of stuff through 4-H. So I knew what extension was and how beneficial it could be to residents in the counties, and was just at that point looking for a change in my life. And I guess as fate would have it, the position here in Person County was open, and here I am.
Well, we're glad to have you. We sure are. And Kim has also helped out with 4-H, and from the transition of Miss Beth Davis leaving as the 4-H agent, Kim put on the 4-H boots, so to speak, and looked after that. And anyway, the new 4-H agent, is it Melissa? Is that right?
Michelle Ferris.
Michelle, okay. And yeah, I'm sure that she's getting her feet kind of sunk in and enjoying it.
They are. She's doing very well. We're very excited to have Michelle on board with us. She is interested in 4-H encompasses a lot of things. A lot of people think 4-H is just livestock and showing, whether it's cattle or horses or whatnot, but 4-H encompasses a lot of different programs. She does have a desire to increase the 4-H livestock component of the Person County 4-H program, so I'm certainly excited about that and willing to do what I can to help her see those changes come forth. Hopefully we can find some volunteers, hint, hint, out there that might be
Yes.
willing to be 4-H leaders for a livestock club or a 4-H horse club. But yeah, Michelle is doing very well. I mean, she's still new. She just started June 5th, so having lots of trainings to go to and trying to learn her way around the county and meet people and everything else. But she's doing a really good job, and we're excited to have her here in Person County.
Well, we want to wish her a great success. And just kind of a little chuckle, I guess the first time I had met Beth Davis several years ago at the Junior Livestock Show, but Beth, when she was a 4-H agent, came out to be on the show one day, and we got to talking on the show. And then after the show, when she was leaving, I told her, I said, Beth, I said, I didn't realize that 4-H is as diverse and as big as it is. And she said, yeah, Rob, she said, it's more to 4-H than cooking and cows. And I got a little kick out of that, But anyway, let's get a word on for T.G. Brooks Company. We're going to be doing the show there live from T.G. Brooks in a couple of weeks, and we always enjoy going out there. Bill and Roy, they roll out the red carpet for us, and they are a small business that cater to a great number of people. So here's more information from T.G. Brooks Company.
Little by little, fall is starting to come on, and it's time now to get mums and pansies. Also time for collards, cauliflower, cabbage, broccoli, and other fall vegetables. T.G. Brooks Company has them. This is the best time of the year right now to get your yard off to a good start, too. Remember to kill those weeds in the lawn and get ready for fall seeding. T.G. Brooks Company has the lawn chemicals to do the job. This is the best time of the year to enrich and repair the lawn. T.G. Brooks Company has the new Top Choice Turf Grass Seed for greener and plusher lawns. Also available are rental lawn aerators and pull and walk behind pluggers and spreaders, bag and bulk mulches, and bulk planting soil. They have your fertilizers in line. They still have plenty of lawn sprinklers, water hose, and water hose fittings if you need hose repair. If you need yard tools, they're in abundance, plus wheelbarrows. Pick up a couple of nice rakes while you're there. Leaves will be here soon. Fresh pine needles, too. And if you are the homeowner or the professional landscaper, both get the same kind of service. Taylor wood stove parts are available to get your stove serviced up for cold weather. Remember, they have dog kennels, shavings, and of course Bartlett animal feeds and Pride dog food. Your family will be smiling when you finish off the day with a delicious hand-cut ribeye steak you bought at T.G. Brooks Company. And it's still time to make some homemade ice cream on these nice warm days. T.G. Brooks Company, been around since 1936. 411 Helena Mariah Road, next door to Community Pharmacy in Timberlake.
All righty, here we are back on the Gardener's Corner program. Hey, want to throw in a little bit of a plug for the food pantry of Roxborough. I went by this morning, and they've got lots and lots and lots of sweet potatoes already in bags. So if you would like some free sweet potatoes, they are nutritious and delicious, and they are free. Head on by and pick you up some at the food pantry of Roxborough, 704 Franklin Street. And as of this morning, they had like 7,000 pounds.
Oh my.
Kim, you've got an event coming up that you want to pass along some information on, correct?
Absolutely. So on September 28th, which is a Thursday towards the end of this month, Granville County will be involved in the 5-county beef tour. And that tour is going to take place in Granville County this year. So, like I said, it's going to be September 28th. We're going to visit 4 different beef cattle operations there in Granville County. It's going to start at 8:30 that Thursday morning with registration. We're going to start at the Buckner Beef Cattle Field Lab, which if you've never been out there, it's pretty neat to go out there and see. That's where a lot of the specialists at NC State conduct research on both beef cattle and forages out there. So they usually have some pretty interesting things going on at that site. So we'll tour there. Then we're going to head over to Hollister Farm. They have some Angus and Angus Cross cattle, and we're going to talk to them about some things they've been experiencing. Then we'll head to Boone's Farm and have lunch there, talk about some weed issues that they've been experiencing this year. And then we're going to travel to Little Grassy Creek Farm and see a solar-powered watering system that this farm put in place on the back side of the farm, because it was just really too far to try and run electricity or water lines back there. So I've seen that. That's kind of neat to see. So again, it's September 28th. There is no charge for the beef county 5-county beef tour. Again, it starts at 8:30. We do ask again that you kind of register. You do drive yourself to all these stops. We'll provide you with directions and everything. And it will end about 3 o'clock or so that afternoon. So it's the better part of a day. But again, as with the other field day, I think you'll see some interesting things that you might could take back to your own farm. You'll meet some folks that you can develop relationships with and have that network so that you can contact them with questions down the road should you want to. So it should be a good day. So if you're interested, we do ask that you RSVP, and you can do that by calling the Granville County Extension Office, and that number is 919-603-1350. If you call Person County, we can still get the information over there, but if you call Granville County directly, that'd be helpful.
Sounds like a fun day for Friday, September 28th.
Thursday.
That's right, Thursday the 28th. All right, let's get a word on for the Lord Granville Agricultural Heritage Association.
The 11th Annual Harvest Show, sponsored by the Lord Granville Agricultural Heritage Association, will be held the first weekend in October. Come on to Butner, to the corner of 12th and G Streets, to the showgrounds. You'll have a fun time if you're someone that enjoys antique tractors and equipment. They'll have lots of it on display. Hit and Miss Engines will be there. See the blacksmith at work. Vendors and food will be available. They'll have a children's play area. Daily admission is $5. For more information, log on to the website lgaha.com for updates. Show dates will be Friday, October the 6th, noon to 5, Saturday, October the 7th, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Sunday, October the 8th, 11 a.m. until 4 p.m. For more information, you can contact Al Govan by calling 919-528-1652. It's the 11th Annual Harvest Show, sponsored by Lord Granville Agricultural Heritage Association. Log on to www.lgaha.com for more information.
All righty, here we are back on the Gardener's Corner program, and once again, the time has slipped away from us really fast.